This is just a first impressions video, and first impressions, I gotta say, this thing looks pretty cool. It's a pretty sweet looking gimbal. But all the footage I've shot so far is more or less test footage. It's not beauty footage by any stretch. So I will be doing a follow-up video that you'll want to be sure to check out once I get to know the gimbal better. I've only had it for a few days. And to be honest, I've had a little bit of trouble getting to know this gimbal. Sometimes these things take a little bit of time. All right, I've got the app open here and I need to connect the gimbal. So I'm choosing the Crane-M2. Went through the different settings and it looks like I'm now connected. Yep, the gimbal is moving. And then there's record, I guess, if your camera was connected to the gimbal. Quick note right here, and I'll show this in my follow-up video, but with the Sony a6400 and other similar cameras, you can connect it through the app. And that way the camera will actually connect right to the gimbal every time you turn it on. And then you'll have some of the controls for your camera in the actual handle of the gimbal. You don't really need to use the app unless you're using a smartphone, but even then I would use FiLMiC Pro or a different kind of app, a different third-party app. So I think this gimbal is actually perfect for these small compact cameras. This is an LX100 by Panasonic. This is a really cool camera. It has the same sensor as the GH4, even though it's a small compact with a built-in lens, but it's a f2.8, and so you can get good shallow depth of field. It's a micro four thirds sensor. Sony makes some pretty interesting little cameras like this too, like the RX. So really, these small compact cameras work great on this gimbal, and I think it's really what it's designed for. Smartphones work well too, but had a few issues. So this is an iPhone XS Max and it works well once you get it on the gimbal, but I have to say I really struggle getting this thing balanced and I'm not used to that at all. I've used all kinds of gimbals and the little compact camera I balanced in no time, but this iPhone really took me some time, and I'm sure there's a learning curve there and that's part of it. But for me, when I'm using a gimbal, I don't want to have a lot of work involved. I want to be able to set it up quickly. And we'll see how it goes in the future, and maybe it'll be fine, but initially I did have some trouble. All right, I'm gonna turn the gimbal off here and show you what this looks like. So that is how I had to balance it. I could never get it to balance completely straight. In a perfect world, it's supposed to be up like this. But as you can see, it won't do it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, if I'm doing anything wrong. I'm using the base plate the way the instructions tell you to do it, and yeah, the phone seems to work fine though. The footage looks pretty smooth, but I find it strange that I'm not able to properly balance it. And this is an iPhone XS Max. I tried a moment lens and there was no go with the moment lens. I am going to put that on though and just see if the motors will lift it up even though it's not balanced. But the weight of this gimbal will easily hold the weight of the phone in this lens. But as you can see, it is not balanced in the least bit, not even close. Making a couple adjustments here, see if I can get it to work. I think what it is, it's just too tall. Not liking this. Nope. Okay, it's the next day and I'm at the workbench here and I've got it to balance. The thing is, it's working, but to balance it prior to turning the motors on, it still looks as limp as a noodle. That's probably not the best way to say that. Now at least the lens has been held up by the motors and it seems to work pretty well. It is a little bit finicky. It feels a little heavy. As I mentioned yesterday, I think it's a little bit tall, but I knew the weight wouldn't be an issue because this gimbal holds 750 grams, something like that. I think it's 1.7 pounds, 1.5 pounds. This combination of the phone and the moment lens is probably, what, under 300 grams. It's just a matter of it being kind of an awkward setup for this size gimbal. This camera I balanced in about 2 minutes. It just brought it right up. So it really works best with these kind of cameras. This is a Panasonic LX100. Sony makes several this size. It's really a good gimbal for this kind of camera, and then I'm sure action cameras, I haven't put a GoPro on there, but it'll fly with that. And it works well with smartphones. Just setting it up is a little bit of a beating. I'm so used to traditional smartphone gimbals, you just put the phone on there, turn it on, and it's balanced. This doesn't work like that. In saying all that, if you're looking for a gimbal that is just for your smartphone, I would not get this one. If you have multiple kind of cameras, if you have mirrorless cameras, if you have some small, almost point and shoot cameras like this, then it is a really good option because it'll hold multiple kinds of cameras. And it'll fly an A6400 with a small lens on there. So the small Sony mirrorless cameras or other brands as well. At least I was able to balance this rig and now I'm not so irritated. Probably operator error, but I will turn it off here and show you that it's not balanced without the motors on, which is a little bit strange. I'm gonna turn the motors off. So that's how it looks without the motor turned on. And that is not how you would normally want it to look. It should be balanced. Again, this is probably a combination of operator error and me expecting more out of this gimbal than I think it can actually do. But it was definitely trickier to set up a smartphone on this than I expected it would be. But in the end, it does work and seems to work pretty well. All right, as I mentioned previously, I will be doing a follow-up video to this, so be sure to look for that. In the meantime, there's a link in the description if you're interested in this gimbal. And again, it is a good gimbal, but you just need to know how it works best and what it works best for. I wouldn't buy this one just for smartphones. I just don't think that's the best way to go. Plus, it's a lot more expensive than smartphone gimbals. But if you have a compact camera, or if you have a mirrorless camera in addition to your smartphones, this is a pretty good option, especially once you figure out how to balance it all. I'm still learning that part of it. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Blake Calhoun. I will see you in the next video.